Hello, new tent day. This is X-Mid Pro 1. It's in a Dyneema stuff sack by Z-Packs, obviously, which is around 7 grams. I think it's the medium stuff sack, but very light. It's 481 grams in this stuff sack. So it's a little heavy. I think it ended up being about 10 or 12 grams over the actual weight that Durston say it is, but that's, that could be something wrong with my scales, but so it's well within a margin for error. So I'm going to pitch this, and I've already put it up once before. It's a little bit smaller than I thought, but I'll show you what I think. Oh, this is Leo. He'll be helping me pitch it today. Okay, this is it. So it's a very quick pitch. This is the second time I've pitched it, and it really is an easy pitch. It's 4 pegs, plus I put one down on the door side over here, so you can just grab it with one hand and pull that back. Also, it's pretty easy to do up these magnetic toggles one-handed, and I have used the little loop down here under the pole, so very easy to open the door up. A little bit harder to do this one-handed, I think. Leo, stay outside. Sorry buddy, you got sharp pointy claws. I don't cut his claws to allow him to rock climb better. We do a lot of rock scrambling and stuff on our trail runs. So you can do that one-handed, though as you see, it takes a bit of time. It is coming from a 3-man. As you might know, I did the PCT last year in what ended up being 2/3 or 3/4 of it doing it solo in a 3-person Z-Packs triplex or triplex, however you want to say it. So it ended up being a very roomy, very roomy tent to be in. This is a big step down in size, Leo. So lots of vestibule space, and I've got shoes on obviously, but that kind of makes up for the 3-inch mat that I'll have, Uberlight or an X-Lite depending on the weather. Pretty roomy. I'll turn this around again. It's pretty roomy, but it's slightly asymmetrical. There's a point at this end to leave gear in, and then a point at this end, my left foot down here. The floor space might actually be, hello buddy, a little bigger in something like the Ultraplex, which is the tall person Z-Packs 1-pole tent. I was thinking about tossing up between that one and the new, I think it's Soloplex, Plex Solo, which is 2 square feet smaller floor space than the Ultraplex. This was supposedly comparable, but as you can see, yeah, it's definitely using up the whole floor space of the tent. I do have a friend who did the PCT last year with me at certain sections, and she has both of these tents, and she recommended highly to get this one instead of the Ultraplex. So she's about 6 foot, so very close to my height, and even though the Ultraplex has a much taller single pole, I think because it's tapered down right from that pole all the way around the tent, you don't get as much usable internal room sitting up, but you possibly do get more usable space inside the tent. I imagine this wall here, when I've got a mat in here, it's only going to be about 3 inches either side of the 25-inch pad. So there's not really a lot of room to put a pack inside. Now, obviously, Durston is saying put your pack here in this little vestibule. I do like to have everything inside, but that's just me. With the Ultraplex, I probably would have been able to have my pack to my left, but that's all right. This does have a lot of internal height, which is nice. The 2 opposing poles. Otherwise, yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. The floor is very thin. as you probably heard from many reviews. It's 15 denier. It's, you've probably got 15 denier, like a down jacket with that sort of thickness fabric. 7 is about the thinnest you'll ever get anyone using, which is what my my down jacket is, but 15 is not much more. But Dan was fantastic with replying to emails, really nice guy, assured me that it's as strong as an equivalent, sorry, it's just Leo, it's just running around, as strong as an equivalent DCF fabric that he would have had to use for the floor, and about the same weight. So only time will tell, but there is a 2-year warranty, and with Z-Packs there's only at most a 1 year and at least 1 through hike. But just showing you from the outside here, it does, I haven't quite pitched the floor perfectly, but the 4 pegs certainly, well 5 pegs I'm using, but I think I would probably just carry 4 pegs and use a stick for the 5th peg and maybe even the 6th peg. So the slight added weight of this over an Ultraplex, I don't think it was more than about an ounce, maybe 20 grams, ends up being pretty close to the weight you lose for taking out 4 or 5 pegs out of your 10 peg carry that you probably needed for any of the Z-Packs tents. Hey again, Leo's being very helpful. Hey buddy. So I do have now my Uber Light pad in here. It's an extra large. Again, 6'2". You got to stay out of here, buddy. You got claws. Sorry. So you can see with the headroom, got it pretty close to the end there. I'm still working out how I would put my pack in the tent with me. I would like to. And the foot end, even with shoes on, I'm pretty much not touching the tent wall, which is fantastic. And I haven't guyed out this at all, other than just the standard 4 corner pegs plus the 1 peg just here for the door. And it's pretty good. Again, I think I'd have to end up having my pack outside, but that's not too bad. I think I could cope with that. This is a really beautifully made tent. Provided the floor holds up, I think we'll be good. But, yeah, not too bad. I did hear that these mats are particularly squeaky because of this polyethyl urethane, I'm guessing. It's a bit noisier than DCF, which I've been used to for the last couple of years, but yeah, especially getting up and down. But it's not too bad. We'll see how it goes. The other thing I just wanted to say was that obviously you can cut down your pegs, which takes down 6 grams per peg. So I only use these, the whole PCT. I think if you're creative, you really won't need to use any of the the V-shaped MSR groundhogs, that sort of thing. My pegs, the titanium shorter shepherd hook ones from Z-Packs, they're only, I don't know, maybe 15 centimeters long, something like that. I really found perfect for every situation, and that was pitching through the desert, in the snow, everything. You just got to get a bit creative. So you can cut down the weight pretty seriously over using, like I said before, a 10 peg situation, Z-Packs, which you probably need to carry 10 pegs to really get the most room, especially out of a 1-person tent. I really do, I think I'm going to miss the Dyneema floor for kind of throw down and forget type level of camping. I am not going to use a ground sheet, and the other thing I wanted to point out was that what I did before in the States was used a 3mm foam pad. I would continue to use that, and I'm just going to put it underneath the tent as a bit more protection for this. I think that makes a lot of sense, just to, if you're carrying some sort of 3mm gossamer gear type sit pad that you fold up and use for sit pad / packing up your gear in the morning, stretching, and putting under your mat, which I put under the Uber Light pad just for a bit more protection. I'm just going to start putting that under the tent. It means it'll dry quicker, but you can get those, or that fabric, or that material I should say, that foam, from like industrial areas in probably big towns. Like I got it for about $10 a sheet, and that sheet will get you about 2.5 pads worth of material. So very cheap. You just got to look around a little bit. It took me a bit of effort to find that pad. But yeah, that's going to hopefully solve my problem of worrying about the floor being as thin as it is and not DCF, which again I've been spoiled with. But the top is obviously all DCF, and the main reason I got this tent, it's a shame that my slightly heavier duty X tent by itself was only 700 grams. So it's very light, and that's not even the lightest version. I think you can get the 3-person down to about 630 grams maybe in the lighter fabric, which is basically what this fabric is. It's the slightly lighter fabric that all the Z-Packs, the lightest weight ones, are made out of. I thought I'd get something to have a bit more longevity, but in retrospect I probably would have got the lighter fabric Z-Packs as well. And that would have made it trickier because this is 480 grams with the stuff sack. My X is 700 grams with the stuff sack. So I'm really only saving 220 grams-ish for what was very close to 1,000 Australian dollars with the terrible exchange rate. So I think it was, it was just about $50, $60 shy of $1,000 Australian to get this 1-person tent. And pack size isn't really an issue for me. I'm carrying a 60-litre Z-Packs Arc Haul Ultra. More than enough room. I actually never filled that pack above the top stay, even with a bare barrel inside. I had the 450 bare barrel inside the pack and never filled that pack up. So I bought it because of the bare barrel carries in the Sierras and things, but in retrospect I probably would have got like a 40-litre. But it's so light, it's about 550 grams with all the pockets I've stitched on, that I'm not going to replace the pack. I'll just let my quilt loft up a little bit more at the bottom of the pack so it doesn't get as packed down. And again, I'm 6'2", so even when it was full, a lot of people on the trail last year thought my pack looked very small. So if I was worried about that, then I would go for maybe the 40-litre version of the same pack, but I'm going to stick with that and like I said, just let my quilt loft a bit. The main reason I got this tent was these vents. I got a lot of condensation on my quilt, even in the 3-person tent. And I'm thinking now that maybe there's a reason for that, and that's because there was so much heat coming out of my quilt. But the tent was so big that it actually wasn't heating up the tent at all, and I was getting condensation on top of my quilt. That's just my theory. I thought initially it might be better having a bigger tent so there's more room for that air to circulate around, but in retrospect I'm thinking maybe that's the reason. The tent just stayed cold inside. And again, Z-Packs tents, the fly is 8 inches from the ground. There's plenty of ventilation in there, so I'm hoping the ventilation in the one man will just make it a little bit more comfortable. I'd rather get condensation on the side walls of the inside of the tent rather than on top of my quilt. Much easier to dry the tent out than a quilt. Again, I have a Z-Packs solo quilt with the incredibly impressive treated down. I ended up stuffing 120 grams of extra Z-Packs down into that, and I thought I'd have the brilliant idea to wet it to help me push it into the little gashes I put at the bottom of every baffle. It would not wet out. It's amazing. It was a pain in the butt to stuff 120 grams more down into my quilt, but it really let me know how waterproof that stuff is. So I'm less worried about getting condensation on top of the bag now. I just don't want to pack it away wet because it will eventually degrade the down. So that's my hope. My hope is that having this 1-person tent, obviously you saw how small the stuff size is. It's about probably a third smaller than my X tent, like I said, which I carried all 4 or 5 months of last year. And that wasn't big and it wasn't heavy. So we're saving about 220 grams here on my base weight. So I think with a summer kit out, it'll be around the 7.5, 8 pound mark from my base weight now. Anyway, I'll pack up and chat to you more later.